Circulate through. To move or flow through a system, often used in the context of fluids. Synonym for circulate through. Flow through, move through, pass through, traverse, course through, stream through. The fluid needs to circulate through the cooling system to regulate temperature. Once injected, the dye will circulate through the bloodstream, allowing doctors to visualize blood flow. The coolant circulates through the system to maintain optimal operating temperatures. Phase in/out. To introduce or remove a component gradually in the course of an experiment. Synonym for phase in/out. Introduce gradually, implement gradually, integrate, transition in/out, bring in/out, incorporate. As the technology advances, older equipment will be phased out to make room for newer, more efficient models. Scientists may phase in new variables to observe their impact. The new safety protocols will be phased in gradually over the next few weeks. Lay the groundwork. To establish the initial foundation or basis for a scientific study. Synonym for lay the groundwork. Establish the foundation. Set the stage, prepare the groundwork, build the framework, create the basis, lay the foundation. Before conducting the experiment, the researchers spent months laying the groundwork, including designing protocols and securing funding. The preliminary studies laid the groundwork for further exploration into the potential therapeutic benefits of the compound. Before conducting experiments, researchers must lay the groundwork with thorough literature reviews. Sketch out. To outline or illustrate a plan or concept before implementing it. Synonym for sketch out. Outline, draft, plan, map out, sketch, design. Before beginning the coding process, the software engineer sketched out a flowchart to visualize the program's logic. The project manager sketched out a rough timeline for the completion of the construction project. The scientist sketched out the experimental design on the whiteboard. Navigate through. To carefully progress through a complex set of procedures or protocols. Synonym for navigate through. Maneuver through, guide through, traverse, progress through, move through, steer through. With the guidance of the mentor, the graduate student learned how to navigate through the complexities of academic publishing. The team had to navigate through a maze of regulatory requirements before gaining approval for the clinical trial. Researchers need to navigate through various steps to avoid errors. Zoom in. To focus closely on a particular aspect, especially when using technology. Synonym for zoom in. Enlarge, magnify, focus, zero in, home in. Microscopes allow scientists to zoom in on tiny structures for detailed examination. During the presentation, the speaker used a projector to zoom in on specific data points for a closer examination. Using the microscope, the biologist zoomed in on the cellular structure to observe minute details. Prop up. To provide support or reinforcement for a project or decision. Synonym for prop up. Support, bolster, reinforce, sustain, underpin, strengthen. The latest findings prop up the existing understanding of the phenomenon. The new experimental evidence helps prop up the existing theory about the origins of the universe. Additional funding from the grant will prop up the research project, allowing for further exploration. Wash out. To remove impurities or unwanted substances, often used in laboratory processes. Synonym for wash out. Rinse, cleanse, purify, flush out, remove, detoxify. The lab technician washed out the test tubes to remove any residual chemicals before starting the experiment. After several failed attempts, the researcher realized that the sample was contaminated and needed to wash it out thoroughly. The researcher needed to wash out contaminants from the sample. Carry out. To conduct or perform a scientific experiment or study. Synonym for carry out. Conduct, execute, perform, undertake, implement, complete. The team is set to carry out experiments on the new drug. The research team carried out a series of experiments to test the efficacy of the new drug. To validate the hypothesis, the scientists decided to carry out field studies in diverse environments. Set up. To establish or arrange the necessary equipment and conditions for research. Synonym for set up. Establish, arrange, organize, prepare, configure, install. Before the fieldwork began, the researchers had to set up the tents and other camping gear. The technicians set up the equipment in the lab according to the experimental protocol. Before starting the experiment, they need to set up the lab equipment. Gather data. To collect information through observations, measurements, or experiments. Synonym for gather data. Collect data, accumulate data, amass data, compile data, aggregate data, harvest data. Students conducted surveys to gather data on consumer preferences for their marketing project. The researchers deployed sensors to gather data on environmental conditions in real time. The researchers gathered data from various sources for analysis. Analyze results. To examine and interpret the findings of a scientific study. Synonym for analyze results. Examine findings, interpret results, assess data, evaluate outcomes, study conclusions, review findings. The statistical software was used to analyze the results of the experiment and identify any significant trends. After collecting samples, the chemist analyzed the results to determine the concentration of the compound. After collecting data, the team will analyze the results to draw conclusions. Draw conclusions. To make inferences or deductions based on the analysis of research findings. Synonym for draw conclusions. Make inferences, reach conclusions, deduce, infer, derive conclusions, come to conclusions. It is premature to draw conclusions from a single study. Further research is needed to confirm the findings. The scientists will draw conclusions about the effectiveness of the treatment. Based on the data analysis, the researchers were able to draw conclusions about the effectiveness of the treatment. Formulate hypotheses. To develop educated guesses or predictions about the outcome of an experiment. Synonym for Formulate hypotheses. Develop hypotheses, create theories, craft hypotheses, construct predictions, propose hypotheses, generate theories. Before conducting the study, researchers must formulate hypotheses to test. Before conducting the experiment, the students had to formulate hypotheses about the expected outcomes. The scientists formulated hypotheses to explain the observed phenomena in the natural world. Compile data. To gather and organize information into a coherent and structured form. Synonym 4. Compile data. Gather data, collect information, aggregate data, assemble data, organize data, collate data. The intern spent hours compiling data from various sources to create a comprehensive report. The team compiled data from multiple experiments into a comprehensive report. The research assistant compiled data on population trends to support the demographic analysis. Refine methods. To improve or make adjustments to the procedures used in a study. Synonym 4. Refine methods. Improve techniques, enhance methodologies, perfect approaches, optimize methods, fine-tune procedures, polish methods. The engineers spent months refining the testing procedures to enhance the reliability of the results. Researchers constantly refine methods to enhance the accuracy of their work. After receiving feedback from colleagues, the research team refined their methods to ensure more accurate data collection. Synthesize information. To combine and integrate diverse pieces of information into a cohesive understanding. Synonym 4. Synthesize information. Integrate data, combine findings, merge information, blend data, fuse knowledge, consolidate details. The review article synthesized information from various studies on the topic. The literature review synthesized information from various studies to provide a comprehensive overview of the topic. The analysts synthesized information from different sources to create a detailed report for the management team. Peer review. To have one's work evaluated by other experts in the field for quality and validity. Synonym 4. Peer review. Expert evaluation, professional assessment, scholarly critique, academic appraisal, colleague review, peer assessment. Before publication, the manuscript underwent rigorous peer review by experts in the field. The research paper is undergoing peer review before publication. The conference organizers invited scholars to participate in a peer review process to ensure the quality of presentations. Replicate experiments. To repeat or reproduce experiments to validate initial findings. Synonym 4. Replicate experiments. Duplicate studies, repeat tests, recreate experiments, redo trials, copy investigations, recreate research. To validate the findings, researchers attempted to replicate the experiments under controlled conditions. The study's credibility increased after other researchers were able to replicate the experiments. The scientific community eagerly awaited the results of attempts to replicate the groundbreaking experiment. Publish findings. To make research results available to the scientific community through journals or publications. Synonym 4. Publish findings. Disseminate results, share discoveries, release findings, communicate outcomes, broadcast conclusions, publicize research. The doctoral student hoped to publish her findings before defending her thesis. The team plans to publish their findings in a reputable scientific journal. After months of analysis, the researchers were ready to publish their findings in a prestigious scientific journal. Design experiments. To plan and create procedures for scientific investigations. Synonym 4. Design experiments. Plan studies, develop experiments, create protocols, structure investigations, devise trials, arrange tests. Graduate students spent weeks brainstorming to design experiments that would yield meaningful results. The principal investigator collaborated with colleagues to design experiments that would address key questions in the field. The researchers will carefully design experiments to test the new theory. Verify results. To confirm or establish the accuracy and reliability of experimental outcomes. Synonym 4. Verify results. Confirm findings, validate outcomes, authenticate data, substantiate results, confirm conclusions, prove accuracy. Multiple experiments were conducted to verify the results of the initial study. The independent laboratory was tasked with verifying the results of the controversial study. The data analysts double-checked the calculations to verify the accuracy of the results. Explore possibilities. To investigate various options or potential avenues of research. Synonym 4. Explore possibilities. Investigate options, examine potentials, probe alternatives, delve into opportunities, search for prospects, scout potentials. Scientists often explore different possibilities before settling on a research focus. The research team decided to explore new possibilities for drug delivery mechanisms. Before finalizing the research proposal, the investigators wanted to explore all possible avenues for investigation. Conduct trials. To perform a series of tests or experiments to assess the effectiveness of a treatment. Synonym 4. Conduct trials. Run experiments, carry out tests, administer trials, perform assessments, execute trials, implement studies. Researchers conducted trials on animal subjects to evaluate the potential side effects of the experimental treatment. The pharmaceutical company is conducting trials for a new drug. The pharmaceutical company conducted clinical trials to assess the safety and efficacy of the new medication. Document procedures. To record in detail the steps taken during the research process. Synonym 4. Document procedures. Record methods, detail processes, chronicle steps, log procedures, capture protocols, document methodologies. It was essential to document procedures meticulously to ensure the reproducibility of the experiment. It's essential to meticulously document procedures to ensure reproducibility. The lab manager instructed interns to carefully document procedures to maintain compliance with regulatory standards. Navigate through literature. To review and explore existing scientific literature on a specific topic. Synonym 4. Navigate through literature. Explore publications, review scholarly works, study existing literature, examine academic texts, survey research papers, delve into studies. Before starting the experiment, the researchers navigated through literature to identify gaps in existing knowledge. Before starting the project, the researchers navigated through the relevant literature. Graduate students spent weeks navigating through literature to gain insights into the latest advancements in their field. Collect samples. To gather representative portions of materials for analysis in a study. Synonym 4. Collect samples. Gather specimens, acquire specimens, procure samples, amass samples, obtain specimens, secure samples. The researchers will collect samples from different environments to study biodiversity. The biologist carefully collected samples of plant specimens from different habitats to study their genetic diversity. Field researchers traveled to remote locations to collect samples of soil and water for analysis. Interpret data. To explain or make sense of the results obtained from experiments. Synonym 4. Interpret data. Analyze data, decipher results, understand findings, interpret findings, explain data, make sense of data. Skilled statisticians are essential to interpret complex data sets accurately. The research team convened to interpret the data from the clinical trial and draw conclusions about the efficacy of the treatment. After months of experimentation, the statistician was tasked with interpreting the complex data sets. Cut short. To terminate or end something earlier than planned. Synonym 4. Cut short. Abbreviate, curtail, interrupt, terminate prematurely, halt abruptly, end abruptly. The meeting was cut short when the fire alarm went off unexpectedly. The meeting was cut short due to an unexpected emergency. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the outdoor experiment had to be cut short. Fall short. To fail to reach a particular standard or expectation. Synonym 4. Fall short. Fail to meet. Miss the mark, come up insufficient, fall below expectations, not measure up, underperform. Despite their efforts, the results of the study fell short of the researchers' expectations. The quality of the samples collected fell short of the required standards for analysis. The team's performance fell short of the coach's expectations. You can find playlists for various languages in the video description. To practice the vocabulary, you are encouraged to explore our various apps. Links to these are also included in the description. If you found something new or interesting, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section and provide your valuable feedback. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more educational content.